Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's lesson, we're taking a break from the ukulele to bring you a U-bass lesson. Now, this is the first U-bass lesson that we have done in 5 years. It's crazy that it's been this long, but we decided to go big with our return to U-bass. And Stephen is going to be teaching you an incredible take on Come Together by the Beatles. So, needless to say, this arrangement is going to be best suited for the advanced player. So if you've been looking for something that is going to be challenging to play, but very rewarding at the same time, this is going to be the perfect choice. So let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Stephen's going to be teaching the first half of the tune. Now, if you'd like to watch the part 2 lesson, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com, doing a search for Come Together. Now, also on that page are going to be the tabs that you can print off to keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Stephen to teach you how to play this. Don't forget to grab the U-bass, and I'll catch you at the end of the lesson.
Hey guys, Stephen here, and today we're going to play my U-bass arrangement of Come Together. So there are a lot of different techniques in here, and I'll just explain them as we go. So let's jump right into the intro. This is going to sound like this. And that's basically the first measure. We're going to play that 4 times. What we do to play this, we play the 5th fret on the A string 2 times, and that'll be 1 and. Then we're going to slide up to the 12th fret on beat 2. So 1 and 2. And then we're going to play the 10th fret on the G string, and that's on the and after beat 2. We're going to hold that out a little bit, and then we're going to play the 12th fret on beat 4. We're going to slide out from there. We're going to play that same thing for measure 2 as well. Let's play measures 1 and 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then measures 3 and 4 are also the same, so let's just play that again 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're ready for the verse at measure 5. So because the melody kind of follows the words in the verse, the rhythm is constantly changing. But basically we have a few things going on the same, and that is that we're going to hit an open note in one way or another on the D string on every downbeat. So that means on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's going to be an open D string constantly throughout this. However, because we also want to add a backbeat, beats 2 and beats 4 will have a strummed note. So you could practice just getting the idea of the notes and then the backbeat by going pluck, strum, pluck, strum, pluck, strum, and try to just play the D string. And I'd go ahead and mute the G string so you can just get used to that. Okay, and then once you get the concept of that, we can add in some of the other notes. The first measure sounds like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to pluck the open D string like we just talked about. Then on the and of beat 2, we're going to play the 10th fret on the G string. Just pluck it. Then we're going to strum both of those notes, the open D string with the 10th fret on the G string, with our pointer fingernail on beat 2. And then after that, we have a hit on the E after beat 2. So it's not an 8th note, it's a 16th note here. And that's going to be the 10th fret on the G string. And you're just going to pluck that note. So far we've got. So did you hear how quick that plucked 10 followed the strum? Just make sure that you get to that really quickly. That's why I pluck it with my middle finger, so I can strum with the pointer finger and pluck with the middle finger. Then after that, we have the 10th fret on the G string with the open D string, but we're going to pluck both of those strings at the same time. And that's on beat 3. Then the and after beat 3, we're just going to pluck the 7th fret of the G string. Then after that, on beat 4, we've got the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string, and that's that strum with our just pointer fingernail. And then we're just going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string after that. So the next measure starts very similarly. We're going to pluck the open D string. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string. Then this time we do something a little bit different. We're actually going to mute the G string so that when we strum it, it'll sound like that, and then play the open D string with that. So basically it just sounds like strumming the open D string, but you have a little extra with it, and that kind of helps support the backbeat. So it's kind of like the backbeat is just supposed to kind of sound like a snare. So on beats 2 and 4, it sounds like a snare drum going 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's the idea. So we're just adding a little extra support to that by muting the G string, but letting the D string ring out. Then we're really quickly going to pluck 2 10th frets on the G string, and I use my pointer and middle finger there so I can play them faster. So that whole figure from beat 2 sounds like, right? So that's kind of tricky. So get used to kind of strumming that muted G string with the open D string, and then plucking 2 10th fret notes on the G string quickly after it. Then on the next beat, we're going to play the open D string with the 10th fret on the G string, and we're just going to pluck them this time. So I'm using my pointer finger and middle finger to pluck both of those strings at the same time. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string. And then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. And that's just a pluck. So let's play those two measures together. This part's pretty tricky, so we're going to go very slowly. And remember, there's a lot of little 16th note things happening here. So those rhythm hits are 1 and 2E, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2E and 3 and 4 and. So I'm going to give you a slow count and then we'll play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So measures 7 and 8 just have mild variations from there, but the good news is rhythmically they're simpler. So these are just going to be straight eighth notes all the way across. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we don't have to think about 16th notes. On measure 7, we're going to pluck the open D string. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string on the and after beat 1. Then we're going to do that same thing where we mute the G string and strum the open D string with the muted G string. And then we're just going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string by itself. Then you're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string with the open D string. So I'm using my pointer and middle fingers to pluck both of these at the same time. By the way, I'm going to mention why we're not strumming this one here. Basically, since we have the backbeats on 2 and 4, if we strum again, it'll sound like too percussive. So on this beat, beat 3 of this measure, we really do need to pluck both of those so it doesn't add an extra strong strum to it. Then on the and after beat 3, we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string with our fingernail, just pointer fingernail once again. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string by itself. So that was measure 7. Let's play that one together. 3 and 4 and. And then here's measure 8. We're going to pluck the open D string by itself. There's a pattern here. They pretty much all start this way. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to do that cool little thing where we mute the G string but strum the D string with the G string, so it still strums through both of them. It's just the G string's muted. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string with the open D string, once again using our pointer and middle finger. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string and the 5th fret on the G string. And then we're going to pluck the 7th fret by itself. And that's on the G string. So here's measures 7 and 8. Let's play them together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So they're very similar measures, there's just one note different between them. Can you spot which one? So here's measures 9 and 10. So this introduces a slap coming up, so just be prepared. If you've never done any slap bass, this is going to be using the side of your thumb, and you're kind of using your thumb sort of percussively, but those slaps will be on beat 2 and beat 4 of this measure. So first we're going to play the open A string by itself, then we're going to play the 9th fret on the G string, and that'll be the rhythm 1 and. Then everything else is just quarter notes. So beat 2 we're just going to slap. Then beat 3 we're going to play the open A string with the 9th fret on the G string at the same time. We're just going to pluck those. So I'm plucking the G string with my middle finger, and I'm plucking the A string with my thumb, kind of like we're pinching inward. And then we're going to slap the open A string on beat 4. So in this measure, rather than using strums, we're using slaps to get the backbeat. Slap, slap. And then now let's go to measure 10, and then we'll put them together. We're going to play the open A string with the 9th fret on the G string at the same time, plucking once again with our thumb and our middle finger, kind of like that motion. Okay? And then we're going to play the 7th fret, and I'm using my pointer finger for the 7th fret on the G string, at the same time as slapping the A string. This is kind of tricky. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to slap and strum at the same time. So that means our thumb has to hit the A string at the same time that our fingernail on our pointer finger hits the G string. I kind of move my pointer finger out as I'm going for the slap. So the hardest part of this one is you may have to mute the other strings because they ring out pretty easily. Muting the D string's not too bad. You just got to try to not hit the E string. And if you hit the body of the instrument, that's okay. It's just kind of a hard thing to do both of those at the same time. So from sideways, it's like my thumb is hitting the A string right as my pointer finger is moving outward for that strum. So after you do that, there is a note on the and after beat 2, because all that happened on beat 2. And then you're going to pluck the 9th fret on the G string after that. Then you're going to play the open A string with your thumb, just plucking it. And then you're going to slap the same open A string after that. So the rhythm for this is going to be 1, 2, and 3, 4. So let me demonstrate measure 10. 3 and 4 and. So let's play measures 9 and 10 together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, you're doing great. That is probably the hardest thing in the piece, to go back and forth between that slapped and strummed part and just plucking different notes and slapping the backbeat. So if you're doing this really well, give yourself a pat on the back. It's not easy. So now we're on to measures 11 and 12, and the good news is this is basically straight eighth notes all the way through measure 11, so just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then on measure 12, you're just going to play 1 and 2 and you're going to rest on beat 3, and then you're just going to do a ghosted strum on beat 4. So let's go back to measure 11 and talk about what notes you play. So for measure 11, we're going to be playing the 10th fret on the A string at the same time as the 10th fret on the G string. We're going to pluck those. This time I'm going to use my thumb and my pointer finger because our middle finger is going to be a little bit busy on this one. Okay, so after we've plucked those two notes at the same time, then I'm going to use my middle finger to pluck the 10th fret on the G string. Then I'm going to strum the 10th fret on the G string. you may have to mute the D string so you don't accidentally hit it when you do this. It helps to be accurate, but it helps even more to mute as well. And then you can pluck the 10th fret on the G string 3 more times. Then we're going to have another strummed 10th fret. Then you're going to play the 10th fret as a plucked note after that. So that's measure 11. So then for measure 12, we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string by itself 2 times. Then we're going to strum it, and then pluck it. Then we're going to rest for a beat. There's a quarter rest right there. And then we're just going to do a ghosted strum. So you just kind of mute the strings. And you really only have to play the G string, but if you happen to play more strings than that, it sounds fine. So let's play measures 11 and 12 together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So now we're going to move on to measures 13 and 14. This is basically the intro, but we're adding a ghosted strum to it. And because we're adding that right where the slide happens, we have to hit a muted strum of a string that we're not playing the slide on. So what I'm doing here is playing the 5th fret 2 times on the A string. Then when I go to do the slide, I'm muting while sliding, which is kind of weird, right? So practice this. It's a little strange. The sliding motion while doing a ghosted note on the D string. If you happen to hit the G string, that's okay too, as long as you're muting. Kind of a weird motion, but you'll get the hang of it if you try it a few times. So once again, that's the 5th fret 2 times on the A string. Then you're going to strum while you're sliding. Worst case scenario, you hit the A string and it just gives an extra little before you slide. It's not going to be the end of the world if that happens. Just keep moving from there. Then we've got the same concept on beat 4. When we hit the 12th fret on the D string, we're going to mute the G string, and we're going to kind of just strum the D and the G string, and then you're just going to slide out like we did in the intro before. Make sure not to mute that slide while you're sliding up. So just make sure that you're kind of muting the D string and the G string, but not the A string. So that happens for measure 13, 14, 15, and 16. So let's try to play that 4 times in a row at a medium tempo, a little bit slower than where we play it in the original arrangement. 1, 2, 3, 4. So great job on that. Now we're back to another verse. So for measures 17, 18, 19, and 20, the good news is our rhythm is really simple. It's just going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Their notes are going to change, but the rhythm is just going to stay the same. So here's measure 17. We're just going to play the open D string. We're just going to pluck that note. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string. And then we've got the open D string and the 10th fret on the G string at the same time, and we're going to strum those. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to pluck the open D string with the 10th fret on the G string. Once again, that's with our pointer and middle fingers. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string. Once again with our pointer finger. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Alright, so for measure 18, we're going to pluck the open D string by itself. Then we're going to pluck the 10th fret of the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the muted G string. Then we're going to play the 10th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to pluck the open D string with the 10th fret on the G string. Once again, using our pointer and middle finger. Then we're going to pluck the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. So let's play measures 17 and 18. Once again, for the rhythm, it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for both measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now let's go through measures 19 and 20. We're going to play the open D string. Then we're going to play the 10th fret on the G string. We're going to pluck both those notes by themselves. Then we're going to play the open D string with the muted G string at the same time, and we're going to strum those. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to play the open D string and the 10th fret on the G string. We're going to pluck those together. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself, just plucked. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string. Once again, that's a strum with our fingernail. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then on to measure 20, we're going to play the open D string by itself. Then we're going to play the 10th fret on the G string by itself. Then we've got the strum with the open D string and the muted G string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we've got the open D string with the 10th fret on the G string, and those are going to be plucked. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to strum the open D string with the 5th fret on the G string with our fingernail once again. Then we've just got a plucked 7th fret on the G string by itself. So now let's play measures 19 and 20 together. Once again, the rhythm's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let me count you in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So measures 21 and 22 are a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to play them for you first so you can hear this rhythm, and then we'll get into it. 3 and 4 and. So measure 21, we're going to pluck with our thumb the A string, just open. Then we're going to pluck the 9th fret on the G string after that. And then next, we've got that cool little slap and strum at the same time thing with the notes we just mentioned. First, we play the open A string, then we play the 9th fret, then we play them together with that technique. Once again, you slap the A string at the same time as strumming outward with your pointer fingernail. After we do that, on the after beat 2, so this is a really weird rhythm, you're going to play the 9th fret on the G string. You just pluck that one normally. And then we're going to pluck the open A string with our thumb. Then for the final beat of the measure, we're going to slap the open A string. Okay, so this one's pretty difficult, so let's play this one together before we move on to the next measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then for measure 22, we're going to pluck the open A string with the 9th fret of the G string. So once again, I'm using my thumb and my middle finger to pluck those at the same time. Then we're going to play the 9th fret on the G string by itself. Then we're going to slap the open A string by itself. Then we're going to play the 9th fret on the G string by itself. You're just going to pluck that one. Then you're going to play the open A string with your thumb, but not slapping, just playing it normal. And then the last beat in the measure, you are going to slap the open A string. So with measure 22, the rhythm hits are 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So let's play measure 22 together. 3 and 4 and. Now let's put 21 and 22 together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we've got measures 23 and 24. They're very similar to the other time this figure came around, so the last time we were on a G7 chord, and it sounds like this. But then we have a tail end of it that goes into the chorus. Measure 23, we're going to pluck the 10th fret of the A string while plucking the 10th fret of the G string. Once again, I'm using the thumb for the A string and the middle finger to pluck the G string. Then whichever finger you want to play the 10th fret on the G string, because then we're going to strum the 10th fret right after that. And I just demonstrated this by making a mistake. If you don't mute the D string, you might accidentally hit it and have it ring out. So you want to make sure to use the flat part of your finger maybe to mute the D string as well. It's kind of tricky, but just give it a shot. Just see if while you're playing the 10th fret on both of those, if you can flatten out the middle finger, or use another finger to mute the D string. So first we're going to play those two 10th frets together. Then we've got that plucked 10th fret by itself. Then we've got the strummed 10th fret. Now we're going to pluck another 10th fret. And this is all on the G string now. Pluck another 10th fret. Another one. So that's 3 after the strum before the next strum. Then we're going to pluck another 10th fret. So measure 23 ends up sounding like this. And then measure 24, we're continuing those 10th frets on the G string. We're going to pluck the first two, strum the third one, and then pluck the fourth one. Then we have the pickup into the chorus. This part is kind of tricky. You basically strum the first one. It's just going to be the 12th fret on the D string with a muted G string. And you can't mute that one over the 12th fret or a harmonic will ring out. So use multiple fingers to kind of keep it muted. And you're going to strum with your pointer finger through the D and the G string. Then you're going to play the 12th fret on the D string by itself, just as a plucked note. Then you're going to pluck the 14th fret on the G string. So that little passage sounds like. And the rhythm hits for measure 24 are a little bit difficult. You're going to be doing 1 and 2 and. You're going to rest on beat 3, and then you're going to go 4 and a. So now we're going to play measures 23 and 24 together a little bit slower than the original. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we're on to the chorus. This is measures 25 and 26. There's a lot going on here. The rhythm hits are pretty tricky on this, so let's go over those first. We're going to have some 16th notes in there, so it's going to sound like 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4 and for measure 25. And then measure 26 is going to be 1 E and 2 and 3, 4 and All right, so let's play measures 25 and 26. Here's 25. We're going to start with the 9th fret on the D string, 11th fret on the G string, 9th fret on the D string, strummed 9 and 11 at the same time, then plucked 9 3 times. Then we're going to have another strum, and this time it's going to be the 7th fret on the D string and the 9th fret on the G string. And then we have a 7th fret plucked on the D string. Then we're going to real quickly play the 11th fret, so we have to stretch our pinky out on the G string. So that's measure 25. So let me play that for you just so you get an idea of what that sounds like. Let's play it together. 3 and 4 and. So now we're on to measure 26. This is going to start with a plucked power chords. This is 7th fret on the D string and 9th fret on the G string at the same time. Then we're going to slide down 2 frets to where our pointer finger lands on the 5th fret of the D string and our ring finger ends up on the 7th fret of the G string. So just practice plucking those 2 notes together and then sliding down. Okay? Then we're going to play the 5th fret on the D string by itself, and this is a plucked note. Then we're going to play the 5th fret on the D string with the 7th fret on the G string, and that's a strummed hit with the right hand, with our fingernail. And then we have another little figure with slides and stuff. So this time we're going to be playing the 5th fret and the 7th fret once again. So 5th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the G string, plucked together. Then you're going to slide up to the 7th fret and the 9th fret. So that's the 7th fret on the D string that you end up on, and the 9th fret of the G string you end up on. So once again, starting from the 5th fret on the D string and the 7th fret on the G string, plucking those together, and then sliding those up 2 frets. Okay? And then this time we're going to strum where we ended up. So 7th fret on the D string and 9th fret on the G string. Now that we're here again, we're going to strum that. And that's with our fingernail going down. And then now we're going to play the 7th fret with a muted G string, and we're going to strum that one as well. And we're going to slide immediately out of that. So like right as you strum, you do the slide. And then you're going to play the 7th fret on the G string 2 times on the anda at that point. 4 anda. So let me play measure 26 for you. That one's kind of tricky on its own. Okay. So that way you get the idea of what it sounds like. Now let's play measures 25 and 26 together a little bit slower. 3E and 4E and Now let's do it one time a little bit faster. 3E and 4E and So now we have an interlude part that leads into the solo, and this interlude is exactly like the intro with the backbeats. We just have a little fill at the end. So it's going to sound like this. So first, just pluck the 5th fret on the A string 2 times. Then while you're sliding up to the 12th fret, you're going to do that slap on the other 2 strings. Okay? Then you're going to play the 10th fret on the G string. That's just a normal pluck. And then you're going to play the 12th fret on the D string as a strum while you're muting the G string. And then you slide out. And then we do the first half of that again in measure 28. So once again, that's 5th fret on the A string 2 times, doing that strum on the D string while sliding on the A string, all the way up to the 12th fret. Then we're going to strum the 10th fret on the G string, hammer onto the 12th fret, then pluck the 12th fret, and slide out. Once again, those notes were all on the G string. So the rhythm of measure 28 is a little bit weird because we had those 16th notes at the end. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3, 4E and. Let me count it and play it for you. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4E and. So let's play measures 27 and 28 together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
Alright guys, so you have now learned the first half of this tune. A big congrats, because this is a challenging piece to play, but it's so awesome when you get it down. Now I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you'd like to learn the second half of this tune, Steven's going to be teaching that in the part 2 lesson, which you can watch by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com, doing a search for Come Together. Now also on that page were the tabs that you can print off to keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, slow sections down, loop them, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning the first half of this tune, and we'll catch you in the part 2 lesson. Take care.